Sup shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SB Interviews, where today we've got our second interview with Nightbird Casino, an act that I have spoken to once before and have the pleasure of speaking to again. If we switch over to here, we have got James and Don. Feel free to introduce yourselves, guys.
Sure. I'm James Moore. For those of you who don't know me, I suppose, the front man, vocalist, guitarist, miscellaneous, whatever instruments come my way, guy from Nightbird Casino.
I'm Don, and I play guitar.
That's awesome. That's all you need to say, man, is just that you play guitar. That's awesome.
What's a shooter? What's a shooter? You're like sub-shooters?
Oh my goodness. Sorry, I mean sub-shredders. Sub-shredders. Did I say sub-shooters? I'm hoping I didn't say sub-shooters. I'm going to find that in the end of this interview. I'm going to have to completely do the intro again if I've said sub-shooters. I'm really hoping
you said whatever you said, what does it mean, though? Whatever it was.
Oh.
Shredders?
Yeah. Yeah, so
Shredders. Cool, man.
I got you. I think it's just our inability to process accents, being American and all.
No, I think he said shooters. Shooters. He said shooters.
See,
So I don't know what that is.
I'll be honest, I heard that too, and I thought maybe it was like spider hands, maybe like with the, shooting webs out of your wrist.
No, it's okay. Already this interview has turned into me being questioned. So it's fine.
Sorry. We'll turn it back around. Let's go back to the way we're supposed to do things.
That's all right. I'll save until after the interview to have an existential crisis.
I love it. No, I love the way I love how you say it because it's like very distinct. But I've seen a few of your interviews, and I always thought you're saying sub-shooters, which is cool if you did say that. But you said shredders, which is
all right. We're gonna give him an existential crisis. We don't want to do that.
Do you get those? Do you get those often? Do you get existential crises often?
Oh, hell yeah, man. Like, I feel like if you're even slightly cognizant of what you do on a daily basis and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys as musicians probably have it, right? You play a riff and you're like, was that really the riff I wanted to play?
Yeah, I think being in a band is pretty much an existential crisis in and of itself all the time. Writing, I mean, I feel like a lot of the music comes from that sort of psychological place anyway. You have enough existential crises over your lifetime, and then you build up a lot of this that can come out in music or lyrics.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like an outlet for it too. And
yeah, you've probably got questions, and we're just like already talking all over you running this thing. So apologies. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's fine. I don't know. Like, like when people say that people listen when they really don't listen. They hear stuff and then they're already thinking about what they want to say next. I try not to do that. So that's why occasionally these interviews, there'll just be pauses just because I'm trying not to do that because I want to hear what you guys actually have to say because you guys are the stars of the show, right? So yeah, don't worry if there's pauses. It's totally intentional.
I'm the same way. No, dude, I'm the same way. And I want to hear more what you have to say because I feel like I'm more interested in what you think about our music than anything that I could pretend to say about the music. Like, I mean, the music is what it is, and I'm more interested in like an honest take of what a listener would have. And I also do the thing where I'm like trying to see what someone's saying, or it's just like ADD or something. So I'm not judging you. Are you judging me? I don't think so. I'm not judging you. I am judging James for his just coffee obsession and not giving tea like the credit it deserves. Both of you, I guess.
Yeah, I just don't think we're going to win this one,
Because honestly,
James.
there's a lot of experiences out there.
And tea is one of them.
And I think you're not gonna gain from closing your mind off the tea, man.
I'll keep working on it.
Yeah.
Because like on the topic of judging people, I didn't necessarily judge you guys, but I did have a listen to your album, the most recent one that you put out, right? Russian Carpet. That's been the big change since we spoke last time, isn't it? Like, what have you guys done since we last spoke?
Well, we did another album, as you discussed. So Yeah, we took a little bit of a break after Gregorian Nap came out, and but I don't know. It wasn't really that. How long was it before we started working on the next album? I want to say it was only like
2 months.
yeah, 2 or 3 months. Like it was at the beginning of 2021 we started working on Russian Carpet. Like we had a couple of ideas that were like, when you do an album, you'll end up with, maybe like 15, 20, 30 songs, whatever it might be. And at the end, you're like, okay, what actually fits on here? So we had some songs that we'd started putting together that just didn't quite fit on the last album. But we actually sat down in earnest and started really working on this in early 2021. Finished that, obviously. And then we also did, we're actually working on a live album that we may release in some sort of video format as well in the next couple of months. So we did that. Also, the band went from 2 people to 5 people. So I guess that's kind of a big thing. I guess that's mainly what we've been working on. I wish I could tell you that we've been playing shows, but unfortunately, we all may have noticed there's still a pandemic going on that doesn't seem to be going away anywhere. So so far, we've not been able to tour like we wanted to or anything, since at least the part of the world where we're living, everything is still mostly closed down or restricted in some way, unfortunately.
But hey, man, that's just the nature of it, right? I see you guys have been a lot more like you guys got. I think like 2,000. You got Facebook's growing. You guys have been doing some social media stuff, haven't you? It's been awesome to see you guys more active on that stuff.
What's Facebook at? It's growing. Like, I haven't really seen it.
You got like 2,000 on Facebook last I checked. That's a decent audience. That's not bad at all, really.
Yeah, we've definitely worked on that. I want to say we've been trying a lot of different things. Like, to me, like I'm not a particularly active person on social media in my personal life. So having to make that like a conscious effort, like, okay, I have to be active on social media to some degree for the band has definitely been something that we've been working towards. We've tried working with different promoters and things over the last year, which has been sort of a hit or miss thing, but it's a good learning experience. And yeah, obviously, I guess 2,000 followers on Instagram and on Facebook is definitely something. If we get
it's not
2,000
nothing.
people to show, it's not nothing.
More
if those
than
2,000
nothing.
people are listening to our music, then yeah, that's absolutely great. That's all I can really ask is that if people are hearing the music and it's connecting with people in some way, then that's a win in my book.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys have grown literally as a band, right? You've got these new members and stuff like that. You've released new material, and I mean, that live album sounds interesting that you're talking about. I'm quite keen to hear that when it comes out. Like, but
It's really good. It's really, really good because there's 3 new members that are that I believe really, really fit and love what we're all trying to do. And it's you don't really hear 5 different people. You hear like one. I don't know. You hear like one group. Really good. It's amazing. So definitely check it out. No question, man.
because I was actually going to ask, how has it been moving to a bigger band like that? How's that experience been?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been great actually. There's I don't know if I want to say a benefit, but it's very different being in a band when it's just 2 people. And it's more when you're working with a group of 5 people and you've got 5 people's different opinions and points of view and their musical tastes to contend with. It can be sometimes it's a little more difficult to all come to a consensus but having that all those different people's inputs is helpful. It doesn't feel like it's just the 2 of us trying to come up with everything. There's other ideas that we're getting from having new members that we wouldn't have necessarily come up with on ourselves. And being able to perform as a group is really exciting because that's something that we really weren't able to perform any of our songs in a full way. It would be, we'd come up with an idea and we'd, record these little individual parts, but actually being able to sit down and actually have an actual drummer and a bassist and all the parts actually being played live. It's an experience. So it's been great. And like Don said, I think these people really fit well with what we're trying to do and, seem to really connect with the music at all. And yeah.
Because you've probably said this already, but I'm just trying to sort of chronologically figure stuff out. So did these people come in after the stuff for Russian Carpet was made, or was it before? Okay,
yeah.
cool. Cool.
So they came in the like post-production of Russian Carpet. So we'd already written and recorded everything. And then while the album was being mixed and put together in its final form, that was when we started looking for other people. So they kind of came on and got, hey, here's 40 songs. Can you go learn these? But they all did really well. I was very impressed with how quickly they were able to put everything together. But yeah, they came on after we already had 2 albums worth of material.
And do you like have any like performances, like any like online performances, or any like are there any like videos of you guys jamming together or anything like that? I know you can't play live, but
There will be. So the live album we mentioned earlier, that's what that is. So it's more like it's not live in the sense that it's at some sort of venue in front of an audience, obviously, since that's not really a possibility right now. Are you familiar with like NPR Tiny Desk concerts or the From the Basement series or anything like that?
Oh yeah, that's kind of what I assumed it would be like. Yeah, just because you can't do live
that's
shows.
exactly
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah.
So that's what we did. We spent a week rehearsing pretty much all of our music. And then we came in on our last day and recorded 17? Was it 17 songs in one day? Something like that. 17 or 18 songs. So we came in and we just like played a live set basically. It's just the 5 of us present. And we actually had a couple musicians from the local symphony orchestra that came out and played on a couple of our songs with us. So that was very cool. So yeah, that's all currently, the video is being edited and all of the sound is being mixed. And so I would say in the next month or so, that should be available to watch and or listen to online. Absolutely.
Because I just realized we're getting close to Christmas. I just had I had a moment there. I was like, wait, it's nearly the
It's
end
September.
of the year.
What's your point? You want the album for Christmas?
No,
Because
no, I don't have a problem with Christmas. It's just I realized that like it's nearly
Dude.
how fast has this year gone? We interviewed earlier this year, and it just feels like it's just wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
No, absolutely. But Christmas is coming, and you know what? That live album would make a great Christmas present. It's just a little pitch there for you.
Yeah, because
is it gonna be released? Will it be out by then?
I mean, at this point, it's a little bit out of our hands. Normally, everything that we've done, and not to toot my own horn by any chance, because I'm actually pretty bad at this, but most of our music has been mixed in my home studio. So it's kind of in the release state, and everything has been mostly up to us. With this, I'm actually having a third party is editing the videos and doing basically all the post-production work on that. So it's really up to them when they finish. I don't want to rush great art or anything. So, but I expect, by Christmas, it definitely will be out. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't.
But that's okay. Sorry, I don't have an issue with Christmas. Don't get me wrong. I just realized the time and where we were at and everything like that, and it had me for a moment. It just had me for a moment. Like
I'm just messing with you.
But I suppose if we take a step back and look at Russian Carpet itself, what would you like to say about it? Because I would say it was a step forward for you guys. Like, it seems like you're a bit more confident, and you see a lot the second time around, right? A lot more confidence in it.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, personally, I love Gregorian Nap. I think that album will have a special place in my heart, so to speak. But this album definitely does feel I think it flows better. That's the main thing that stands out for me. Is I think we consciously tried to have an album that was a little more cohesive.
Cohesive. I was going to use that. Fuck.
I'm so sorry to just steal your word.
No, it's okay. I think it's more cohesive as well.
Yeah, it just flows like. I think we definitely still. You can see those influences we have of different genres, and we're not. There's definitely a different moods and feelings for the songs, and you obviously you heard the album. There's we've got some heavier, more traditional rock type songs, and then you've got stuff that has a little bit more of a classical influence or what have you. But as a whole, it just sort of flows as like continuous piece that works well together. So I'm very happy with how it came out.
Because like for me, I was trying to figure out if it was like meant to be a chronological album, like a story that was told in sequence across, or if
Could
there were
be.
different concepts that you just
Yeah.
wanted to. Which was it?
I think just my take on it is that it is. I have like two interpretations of it, and I think it's in both of them. It's chronological for sure. Like one of them would. This is just my like sense of it. I was thinking about the other day. One of them would be psychological, like a psychological progression of a person's life, and another one could just be like biological, like intro is like this like little organism that's like vibrating, like the beginning of time, like you're like where we came from, like little tiny organism. And clown toads is like pre-fish, like it's just kind of like, I don't know if that one doesn't work as well with this narrative because it's a very developed song, but like it's kind of like when you're a 2-year-old and they say little 2-year-olds like know everything. They're way more wise than adults actually. So that would be clown toads. And then a squid is kind of like, so now I'm on the psychological. The squid is like you're a little kid and you're like 3 to 7 years old, right? And then scarlet is like that bittersweet, like 8 to 12. And then a town, you're in high school and you're just like this douchey, like thinking all these things. And that's just like kind of so I guess I kind of mixed two of them. The biological is like an organism going through life. By the time it gets to Scarlet, it's on a beach because Scarlet's about beaches and stuff, right? And then it kind of gets to the town. The first town after the beach would be the town, and then so on and so forth. And then, so the psychological is so like the first one, you're a little kid. The squid, you're like 3 to 7. Scarlet, you're like 8 to 12 because it's very bittersweet. The town, you're in high school. Aubrey and Cascades are kind of like 20 to 26. So you're like an adolescent and you're going through some really muddy, difficult times, maybe trying to process like the immensity of being alive and being human. And then Hourglass 1, if I have the order correctly, is like that intermission of, I think of like when you kind of are just going up your first like 30 years, 25 years, and you don't really know what to make of it. And that would be like the first half. And then the second half, it kind of just like you're kind of talking in your review about this, like the second half, it has a few upbeat moments, but it ultimately it just drifts into nihilism, which isn't to say that I'm endorsing nihilism or we are. It's just like, you know, you might think the second half of your life or of the album is like going to be as eventful as the first half, like equally distributed, but it could just be like best part of your life is your first 30 years and then you just get old and it just kind of, you know, like a toilet flushing, it just kind of spirals down into nothingness.
Okay.
But you don't have to, and it's not like this is our second album, so it's not like this is it for how we think about life or any of these things. It's just like, it's just saying like, maybe it's a meditation on nihilism. Because I hadn't really thought about it till you said that in the review. Is this all about nihilism? I'm like, that's not what I was thinking about consciously, but I'm okay with it being like a meditation on nihilism because it kind of starts with nothingness with intro and then it ends with nothingness. It's like, it's fine with me because we're not going to necessarily like, we're going to keep making albums and just go from here. So.
Okay, thank you. I think I understand the album a lot better now. It makes sense because not that I wanted to make a whole lot of different assumptions anyways, but I just wasn't quite sure about the overall arcing theme of the album. And now that you've told me, I get it, I think.
But most of what I said, I just copied you I just took most of what you said. And because it resonated with me, I'm like, actually, that is a very accurate interpretation. It's not like I can't speak for James. It's not like I was consciously thinking about any of it at any point. It wasn't conscious. We're just like, I don't know. That's what I love about making albums is like we can just kind of put it together super organically and we finish it and it is what it is. And it turns out that it was a lot more dark for sure than like I ever would have wanted. but it is what it is. Like,
Yeah, you know what I think? What's crazy about this is that, yeah, when you're writing music, like you're wondering like what was our intention? Was there a story behind the album? And I think it's different for everybody, necessarily, because my interpretation of it is different than the one that you just gave. But I like that. That makes perfect sense as well. And I think that's the beauty of music, is that, you know, three different people can listen to an album, two of whom wrote the album, and we all hear something a little different or interpret it in a little bit of a different way. I mean, I can definitely tell you that when I'm writing the lyrics to songs, like there's usually some sort of intent behind those, but it's not necessarily that I expect everyone to know exactly what I'm talking about, because there might be personal experiences that I've had that influence how I'm writing it. And then you might listen to it and maybe you don't interpret it exactly how I meant it when I wrote it, but you hear something different that resonates with you, that makes sense with your life. And I think that's really, for me, that's all I can really hope for. I think that to me, the album kind of feels almost like a trip, like an interpretation musically of a trip on whatever, pick your choice, ayahuasca, acid, mushrooms, whatever it might be. I guess take that for what you will, but some of the songs are about that. The lyrics are about that pretty literally, and if you go back and read over them, I think they might jump out at you in that way. Like Iquitos, to me anyway, when I wrote the words, is very much about ayahuasca, but it could be interpreted, you know, if it resonates with a different person in a different way, that's great. We don't all have to interpret it the same.
Yeah, Ketos was a tricky one for me. I couldn't quite figure that one out. But I liked it.
Come on, what's not to figure out, man? He says, "This body I borrow." So it means you don't own your body. You're temporarily inhabiting a body. It'll take a long time.
It could be interpreted so many ways, though.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. What's not to give us an attempt at interpretation?
Oh, that's a fair point. I suppose I'll let you in a little secret. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't like to step into one position unless I'm totally sure about it. Because my concern is if I step into a position and I miss something, I'm going to look like an idiot. So I tend to say I don't know because I'm still not sure about different things, if that makes sense.
But I would say to that, like, you could, of course, no, that's totally valid. You could speculate on something forever, and still you're never going to know for sure anyway. So I believe that if you just take, like, because if you think about something too long, you're going to deny your spontaneous intuition of like what you're feeling about that thing. So if I ask you, like, what do you think Clown is about, without thinking, what do you think it's about?
It was, from what my distinct reference, it was quite a wacky song. It was quite a wacky. It was an interesting song. Like it was a kind of
wacky.
Wacky. That's my word.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Go on. Like, that's real. That's real though. Like, wacky. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, because you can't like think about it too much.
You know, I
don't think.
Right. Like that's just your initial reaction.
Yeah.
You see, this challenges my like way of reviewing stuff.
It's
because
okay.
it's you're right. Like, honestly, the most human way of is literally reacting. That, and what I've had to do as a music reviewer is learn not to do that. Because if I just react, there's the temptation to just always react. Because if you can get away with just saying, "Oh, that's cool," then it's like, "Oh, yeah, it's cool." But then people will then want me to elaborate more. So then that's kind of why I go on these tangents with songs and pause and stuff like that. And then people will want me to not pause the review to talk about the video. So the moral of the story is, as a music reviewer, you can never win and nobody's ever going to be happy.
Yes.
Well, if it helps, I actually really enjoy your reviews. And I think it's great how you do try to, like, you think about what was the intention behind the song or what does this mean? Because you may come up with things that I didn't even know were there, which is great. Like, I'll let you in on the secret here. When I write lyrics, sometimes I set out with like a particular thing in mind. Like, I'm going to write about this subject or this event. But sometimes I'll write lyrics and they just sort of flow from the universe, and then I'll go back later and read them over, and I kind of realize what they're about, if that makes any sense. Like for instance, if you remember the second to last track on the album, Hourglass 2, I remember writing the lyrics to that album, and it was one of those things where they just sort of flow, or not to the album, I'm sorry, to that song, the lyrics just kind of flowed out, and I had this, it was one of those songs that came together very quickly. Like Don had written the piano part for it, and we wanted to keep it a very simple song. We didn't want to have like a full band or anything, just a simple mellow song at the end of the album. So my homework was to write the lyrics for this song, and I wrote them without necessarily having any idea of what it was about. And then later I went back and read the lyrics a few times, and I was like, okay, this song sounds, at least part of it, it's like it's about climate change. And that wasn't even my intention writing it, but sitting here, like, I live in Southern Oregon in the northwestern United States, and it's September right now, and it is really hot here, really, really hot. And you wouldn't think that, right? Like it's been in the almost 100 degrees every day for like 3 or 4 months straight. And I'm sitting outside right now in my yard, and it's actually really nice out, surprisingly, because for the last like 3 months, there's been so much smoke from all the forest fires around here that it looks like, the apocalypse outside. Like I've got mountains over to my right here that I haven't been able to see for 3 months because they're blocked by the smoke. So I think I'm just like surrounded by these constant reminders of climate change, and then it just kind of came out in this song, even though I didn't necessarily set out and say I'm going to write an anthem about climate change or anything like that. I'm not trying to write a political song. I wrote it, and then later you go back and read it and go, oh, maybe this is what my subconscious meant when I wrote. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's a bit of the process there.
Hey, Logie, can I say I love your reviews style so much, because it's you, and when it's just you have this way of like, you're playing the music and you really process everything. And I told James, like, what I loved about it is how you can tell that's what you actually think about every song at every moment, and it's in your own way. But right now you're with the people who wrote the music, and there's like, if you want the truth, if you want the authentic truth, then you're going to have to play ball. You're going to have to tell us what you think without thinking. And I want you to know that I will tell you, but you have to ask the right questions. Start asking the right questions, and I'll give you the answers. Or so like, for example, give me an example.
Like a song?
Yeah, give me a song.
Okay, why was the last track so depressing?
Nordic Retreat.
Why was it so depressing? Is like
I thought it sounded like Massive Attack. Like it was kind of trip hoppy and cool. Like it's depressing if you don't like Tom York's solo albums, because I thought it uses some of that, like, I don't know.
Well, here's a better question then.
Hourglass 2 is more depressing. It's about an apocalypse.
Yeah. What was depressing about Nordic Retreat to you? Because I think Nordic Retreat there's no lyrics to that song. And I'll let you in on a fun little secret here. Most of the sounds that you're hearing in Nordic Retreat are samples from songs on the album. Like all of the vocal sounds, if you will, like there's not actually any lyrics or anything, but all the vocals throughout that song are little snippets of vocals sampled from previous songs on the album. So I don't think it wasn't our intention for that song necessarily to be depressing. But I'm curious what about it made it come across that way to you?
It just when I listened to it, I imagined myself being in this big expanse surrounded by mist and stuff like that. I felt like I was looking at like life, except you were very, very much at the end of it looking back, and it kind of felt very sad for some reason. It was almost like the person had done everything they wanted to do and was walking into the mountains, never to come back again. That was how I felt from that track there. And it was kind of surreal because we went on this massive adventure with like clown toads and squids and stuff. And I didn't quite understand at that point in time that the context of that stuff. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. That's one of my favorite tracks off the album is the last one. Just because of how it hit me like a freight train. But it was one of those tracks I thought about afterwards. And I was like, that was a hell of a way to end an album. A hell of a way to end an album.
I think what's more depressing is trying to control the experience of life you're having. If you want everything to be cookie cutter vanilla, everything that you want, everything that happens to you has already been predetermined. Don't you want a little chaos? Don't you want a little bit of you actually do want that? And to be honest, man, I was honest.
It's all good. I thought we were.
Listen, man, I think you should listen to it again and have some tea when you do, because honestly, bro, I feel a little bit like freaked out when I drink coffee too. Like, you're gonna have to like
This is interesting.
let your mind just explode a little more.
I think it's interesting that you said that the song sounded like a person at the end of their life looking back on everything. And that kind of like, Don, you'd said earlier that in a way it could be interpreted as like psychologically, like from the time we're born, which would make sense. Then that Nordic Retreat, that last song would be sort of the end of life, or, you know, maybe afterlife, looking back on things. So I don't know. I think that's a great interpretation. And even if it hit you like a freight train and it was super depressing, I'm glad that it affected you in some way, because I was very hesitant about that song in general. I was like, it's kind of like this formless nebula of sounds, like it's almost not even really a song, and so I was a little hesitant to even include it, and the fact that it's having an impact on somebody is great.
Like, I think part of it is the uncertainty that comes by not being spoon-fed a song and by not being led by the hand through it. And when you have tracks that are instrumental or where they don't have a drum beat that you can nod your head to, it can be fucking terrifying depending on the situation, right?
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
and it's such
What's terrifying?
when you don't have like a drum beat to guide you along as a list. I'm being mildly facetious here. When you when you don't have a drum beat to guide you along, or when you just it was just an instrument. If you know what I mean, like it's weird not to have being spoon fed stuff these days. If you know what I mean.
Right. You know, I know what you mean. That song is like, it doesn't have like, it has multiple drum beats that are kind of, you know, looping in on each other, and just sounds coming at you from different directions. And it's a very disorienting track, I guess. Yeah. Like there's nothing to follow through the song.
Oh no, sorry, I mean
Wait.
like in general, not with that song necessarily, but like whenever there isn't like a drum beat and like music nowadays or something. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean the songs where there were drum beats.
Okay,
but like,
okay.
yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I mean,
But yeah, in general, I think people are afraid of music that isn't spoon-fed to them, which is one of the, not that I would do things any different, but that's one of the most difficult things for us about writing this music, is that it's not this formulaic cookie cutter music. So I think a lot of people do get, maybe being scared is the right word, but you know, that they're not comfortable listening to music that that isn't just being spoon-fed to them, like you said.
you know what scares me is the top 40, like music that's so predictable that does hold your hand. Because where are they holding your hand and taking you? What do they want out of you? They're trying to sedate you with consistency and patterns that we're used to, like a drug. It's like, I don't know how you say it, just like what you're used to isn't necessarily your friend. And a world without variety, or without like a diverse like set of experiences, to me is a lot scarier. And because in a lot of ways, Logan, like if it did give you that authentic reaction, then I totally respect it and I appreciate it. But I do suspect that that's maybe what you think you're supposed to think. Like in Nordic, there's the part where the sounds are bouncing off the walls, right? And conventionally it does sound like, why is this happening? This is erratic and this isn't like what I am normally used to hearing. And so there's that temporary impulse to be like, oh, I don't like this. But if you settle into it, and it's like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Or if it gives you that reaction, it gives you that reaction. But this is exactly what, do I have to say it, like corporations, this is exactly what the man wants you to think and feel, that something that you don't understand is supposed to be terrifying or bad. And I just want you to know that what I really hope to achieve with their music is like to liberate people, and to maybe to this notion that death is a bad thing, but it is the only guarantee you have, right? So just because the journey is over, would you want it to go on forever? And to have this kind of somewhat nihilistic ending to the album, it doesn't mean that there won't be another album or there won't ever be music again. It just means that that was the end of this movie. That was the end of this chapter, and you have something to think about. Or if it was a bad experience, like a negative, nihilistic kind of album, then maybe it's a good thing because it gives you incentive to move away from that feeling of like I've had this experience of nihilism and I don't like it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. But you didn't say bad. You didn't say good or bad. You're just saying terrifying and uncomfortable kind of thing. And but I just want to like shake people out of these narratives that because something. And I really think when like in your review you're talking about what does this mean or what is the arch of the album, and the thing is I don't know if you're gonna have a solid meaning, and I really think that you can only torture yourself forever being like, oh, what is the absolute essence of what are they trying to say? You're never going to really know because we don't even know. And anything we tell you is just like what we think right now or what we want you to think, but we don't really know. I don't know.
I mean, to comment on the state of the music industry at this point in time, I literally had someone get in touch with me a couple of days ago and they placed an order. And the order was for me as a music reviewer who's done 1,500 to 2,000 song reviews at this point over the last year and a bit. They wanted me to listen to their song and dance to the music. And they wanted me to groove along to it and act like I really liked it because they're trying to make a like something like Cardi B does, where they get jump cuts of different reviewers showing how fucking awesome the music is. And that's a gig I canceled. I canceled it and I refunded the money.
Fuck yeah. I'm not saying you should do that. And I really love the moment. I think it was on Hourglass. You literally said, you're like, I don't know if I like this. Like, I love that because you're like, that's just your honest thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I'm saying two things. Like, on one hand, you should say what you really think, but also it's okay for a song to be uncomfortable and to shake things up and maybe, to feel bad for a while. But I think we do need more of that, like, for sure, in the industry.
That thing you said about they want you to pretend like you like it and dance around. Like, I'm good for you for having integrity and not taking that on. Like like Don was saying, I like that when you review albums, at least with us, like your album reviews have come across as very honest. And that's what I would want from any reviewer is, as an artist, like we hope people enjoy our music. And if it gets people excited and they want to dance around to it, that's great. But I can't imagine telling someone like, I prefer to get somebody's honest feedback, whether somebody listens to it and says, I love this is the greatest thing I've ever heard, or this, I fucking hate this album, I never want to hear it again. At least that person is being honest rather than, Well, the state of the music industry right now is something I think about all the time. It's very, that's depressing. The state of the music industry right now is so depressing.
Like, I don't really think the goal of our music is to necessarily enjoy it either. Like it probably shouldn't be enjoyable, but I hope it makes people feel something, like to feel.
Yeah.
Like with your music, when I say that it makes me feel uncomfortable or I'm not sure if I like it, I've got enough awareness to know that just because regardless whether or not I like something, the music can still be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about tempering that. But for you guys, like, this is why I try to stick to a non-emotional way of reviewing stuff, because it allows me to look at your musical performances, for example, and see that I can't actually fault what you're doing musically. You guys have got a very sound understanding of music theory, and you really practice. I can tell you guys actually practice your instruments and put a lot of work into it because they're very tight.
I don't practice.
Oh, come on.
I don't practice. Come on, man. You ever seen me practice?
Yes. When you're at my house, you're practicing like 24/7. You're like locked in the studio playing the guitar.
No, he's messing with you. No, he's trolling.
He's just being modest. I don't know if we necessarily practice quite as much as people might think. And as far as like, I wish I knew more about music theory. I don't have as strong of a grounding in that as I would like. I suppose I probably know a little more than I don't know, an average person off the street. but I wish I understood more than I do. So there's definitely concepts. Our actually one of our new band members, our bassist Patrick, is he's actually going to school for jazz performance. So he has a significant amount of understanding of music theory, far more than anyone else in the band does. So sometimes I find his, we'll be, we're playing some song or I'm, showing some riff that I wrote. And he's like, oh yeah, this is an A major Lydian. I'm like, great. I had no idea. I didn't do that on purpose. Things just sort of fall into place. So I think sometimes it's more about having a good intuition for what sounds good musically rather than necessarily understanding, at least for me. Sometimes I'll write things and I'll kind of find out the significance of them later. And at the time it was like I'm just putting together something that sounds good to me.
Oh, yeah, because like something that's become really popular nowadays is using extended harmonies because a lot of musicians have found out that you don't just have to use major and minor chords. You can stack notes on top of the triads and make for more. So, but like I kind of love how you didn't necessarily go for that vibe for every single track, and you were confident in using those kind of major and minorish chords and not overcomplicating your harmonies like that. It was kind of cool. That's a benefit of not sort of going super hardcore on it, right?
Yeah, hardcore? I think so. I mean,
what do you mean? What do you mean hardcore?
So like at least with the music that I mainly listen to, I listen to like a lot of like metal, for example. And metal's gone in a really interesting direction over the last 10 years where I went from like Slipknot to like EDM metal, and now everyone's trying to be jazz metal where they're using like 9th, 11th, 13th chords and doing tapping and all this kind of crazy stuff. And it's kind of lovely to hear music which doesn't rely on that sort of uber complexity, and it can still sound good, if that makes sense.
So like so Slipknot's hardcore, because I wouldn't know what bands would fall into like hardcore necessarily.
Well, I think like there's a hardcore genre, and I think what you're saying is when you say going hardcore, you mean like going crazy with the complexity, like trying to make the music as complex as possible. Is that what you mean?
Oh, of course, yeah. No, I need to be wary of the fact that hardcore is actually a genre. So like what I mean is like a lot of the focus for a lot of metal on like the early 2000s was obviously like low tuned power chords and like like 0 0 0 0 0 and some 8s and 5s. And then there was like there was a lot of synth elements in like the mid 20 late 20 noughties, early 2010s. And now people are getting like 8 strings and they're just doing two-handed tapping and all this kind of really crazy stuff. And I love, like, what genre are you guys? Like, what genre are you?
Ontology.
I guess.
So, no, this guy wrote a review.
That's right. Yeah,
He said that, but there's like a very strict criteria, like using old schools radio samples, evoking retro, like Transylvanian ethos kind of shit. Like
this is like a real thing. Hauntology, like haunted, like a haunted house. Hauntology, look it up. We had never heard of this, and then there was a review of Russian Carpet that came out a few weeks ago. It's on our Facebook page if you want to read it. And the reviewer said that our album felt like hauntology to him, which we'd never heard of. So of course I looked it up, and it's actually a real genre. I don't know if we literally fit into that exactly, but there's definitely some elements. I mean, I think at the most basic, we're alternative rock. But then as far as like subgenres of that, it's hard to say. Usually, when you go somewhere like when you're submitting your music for distribution, like on the iTunes store, you have to pick a genre. So I just go with alternative because it's the most basic. But I think there's little elements there's definitely some psychedelic rock elements in there, maybe some
totally
a little shoegaze, probably definitely some like grunge influences too. So I think it's a mix of different things, but it's certainly not metal. That's the one genre we haven't really waded into at all.
And that's okay, man. There's already a lot of people doing metal. It's super saturated, dude. It's
What's your favorite metal band? What's your favorite metal?
Shit.
In Flames.
I like In Flames. They're pretty dope. Oh, dude, I don't even know, man.
What?
Slipknot's cool too. Slipknot's awesome.
I actually like Slipknot. Yeah. What do you,
You know,
I assume I can see the guitars behind you. I know from your channel that you play guitars. Do you make any original music, or is there like a particular genre that you play? I know we're asking you the questions again now, but I'm curious.
No, it's okay. I like to play like rock and metal kind of stuff. And at the moment I'm working on some like material at the moment, and I've got like the double drop A guitar and the distortion.
Nice.
And I mean, are you guys still doing your own post-production stuff? Like, oh no, are you getting someone else to do it? How is that stuff working?
both.
So for this album, so for the first, for both albums actually, they've been mainly, I'll mix them in my studio, and then but most of the post-production for Russian Carpet was done that way. And then so Don and I'll have a Zoom call like this where we're both looking at the same file in the DAW and making those kind of decisions together as we're mixing it. And then we did have the mastering was done at a studio in Michigan, I believe. So we didn't do the mastering, but all the mixing was done by us. Our third album, maybe it's kind of a little premature to even be talking about that, but we are already working in the very early stages of a third album.
We're not, Logan, we're not stopping. I want to tell you the best things. And Logan, are you a confident person? Because you strike me as a very confident person. And I don't mean to throw all this shit at you and say all these things, because I'm not trying to offend you either by saying this interpretation is not right and all these things. I want to tell you the absolute truth. And if I'm offending you on any level, I do apologize. But I think you have really cool music sensibilities. And I want you to know that we do too. We're not stopping. And I do think about this competitively. I want to systematically take out, not the Cardi B's, she's cool, but there are some people that on the top 40, I want to take them out of the charts. I want to make this. So whatever you're doing, I hope it isn't just reviews, because you do have good, you got a good ear for weird shit.
No, guys, honestly, with these reviews I do at the moment, about a month and a bit ago, I did some work for this dude over in China, and it was a bit of a messy experience with him for things that he did, and we've sorted that out, but basically I've ended up with an audience of around 117,000 people, and
that's great.
Yeah, 2,500 on YouTube, but 115,000 on the other platforms. So basically, they're wanting me to make music and put it on the platform, and they don't get a lot of metal over where they are. So Billy and I are sort of sorting out a contract at the moment and stuff like that for me to put more material on that website. And that'll mean that if I want to launch a career or something with the music, I can just upload that and get and do okay with it. One of the videos I did of me just playing a guitar for a minute got 400,000 views in the space of a week, and it was pretty silly, but
that's crazy, man. Good for you.
Oh yeah, cool. Is that all you do? Is that how you're supporting yourself? It's music? Because if you are, any tips?
Okay, so basically for me, I'm a multi-instrumentalist music tutor, because I teach guitar, bass, drums, piano, ukulele, DJing, and a few other things. I also want to build a studio, because I've got a lot of studio equipment around here, and I'm going to be recording and mixing bands as well. Not mastering, because mastering, there's websites now where people get mastering done for $20 or something per song.
But if I can just jump in on that really quick, those websites where you do mastering for $20 that doesn't even compare to having a human do that. So I did try that initially with Russian Carpet. Because those websites like you're talking about, they exist, and I was like, all right, well, let me give this a shot, see if it's even worth it. And I attempted that, and then we actually had the album go off to a studio and had a human being sit there and master every track, and it's a world of difference. So obviously, if you don't want to do mastering, don't master, but that skill, that's a very real skill that I don't think can really be replicated by AI, at least not right now,
or by us, because we don't.
Definitely not by us. No, we're not good at that.
Of us. Also, Logan, I think I'm honestly looking to the future that I hope that in the world there's more, like, I hope the elites are more of the artists, not like the elites, but I hope there are more like regular working people or just musicians. That's the world I would like to see. So if you're trying to make a studio and do all these things, like, keep it up for sure, because that's kind of where we're at too.
Yeah, well, I mean, for you guys at the moment, you guys are in a beautiful position where you're predominantly like you're mostly self-sufficient, right? You can handle most of the stuff yourselves, and a lot of the artists in the top 40,
Yes, yes,
like a lot of the, and this isn't me being disparaging, it's literally a fact that they have massive teams behind them. They would not
yes.
be able to accomplish this
Yeah.
on their own, and that's the reason why they're there where they are, if that makes sense.
They don't own their music either. Like, they don't own the rights,
That's very
the
true, yeah.
licensing either. So, which we own 100% of. So yeah, what you're saying.
But like for you guys, you've just released an album and you can do whatever you want with it. You know what I mean? Like you've got that full control over it, and that's kind of an advantage that you have over a lot of these bigger acts because I mean, man, this like I know this is potentially a bad example. You know, like Kanye West. There's been
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much drama over his most recent
Yes.
album.
Wait, Kanye West? Who's
Yeah.
Kanye? Who's Kanye West?
Kanye,
Yes, I know
West-
Kanye West.
basically, yeah, I know, right? Kanye,
What's it called? What's his new album?
Donda, I think Donda.
Yeah.
Apparently, it got leaked by like a track got leaked by Drake or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know about this. Yeah.
What do you do in
Yeah.
that situation? Like, how does that happen?
I
Like
don't know. So wait, you say Drake leaked a song from Kanye's album?
I'll just confirm that. Hang on, I'll just be a sec. I don't want to get myself in trouble.
It's okay.
Right,
Well,
right.
for a while, it was like he delayed the release date or something too. Right? Like he said it was going to come out and then it didn't. And then-
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely those disadvantages though to being on a major label like that, in that you can. There's all these copies of the album floating around that can be leaked, and the label can push back the album, and I mean they can delay it indefinitely if they want to, and then ultimately you don't own your masters, so down the road you leave your album, then you suddenly or I'm sorry, not the album, you leave the record label, and then that music is basically just not, it's not even owned by you. It's like, hey, you were the one who put all the work into this, but you can't do anything about it. Oh, how about that? Yeah, Drake leaked a song. Crazy.
Yeah, not necessarily off of the album, but like you've got one huge artist who's like, isn't Kanye West a billionaire at this point?
Probably, yeah. I mean,
Maybe.
close enough if he's not,
He just gets his song that he's done with Andre 3000, who's another pretty big artist, leaked by Drake, who's another pretty big artist. And I suppose even like, isn't it nice to not have to worry about that kind of stuff?
The issue is that I think the benefit
It
of
is.
a big label will be getting launched, though. See, we haven't actually had that initial, but I think after you get your feet, what is the expression, like after you're off and running, like after
Get your
you
feet wet.
get your
Yeah,
feet
yeah,
going, get your feet wet. After that, you're completely free and you're completely self-sufficient. At this point, though, everything's kind of a grind for sure. We have to do everything. It's not a bad thing. It just means like we don't have a big following. We don't have steady income from this yet. So there's ups and downs.
Yeah,
but-
I mean, the benefits of having a label is definitely that not that they get you an audience, but like you said, they have those big teams behind them who can get your music out to the world. Like, we can post our songs on every streaming platform, and which is great that anyone can do that now, and you can post your songs all over the internet. You can print up CDs, and you can be active on social media, and yeah, people will listen to it. But having the label behind you, you definitely get more of a push. But then there's huge drawbacks, like you mentioned, that we don't have to worry about right now.
So I guess for you guys in future with the new members and everything like that, what are the big goals for you guys then moving forward?
to take over the world. What's that show where he's like, what are we going to do today? He's like, the same thing we do every day. Try to take over the world. What is that?
Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah. Bro.
Pinky and the Brain from Animaniacs.
That's the goal, dude. That's the goal.
I mean, musically at least, yeah, for sure. I think with everyone else, we have a lot of goals. Like we're hoping, once it's allowed, we'd like to start, doing tours, and we'll, maybe start where we are right now on the West Coast of the United States, and then, I guess, expand those tours. I mean, ultimately, we'd like to, be playing at some major festivals the next couple of years. We'd like to maybe do some tours in Europe and Australia if, again, when those things are allowed. I just keep making great music and, like you said, take over the world in a musical sense.
Yeah, I want to promote the ethos of love and nihilism, and I want everyone to be thinking and feeling as much as possible. I want them to feel the impulse of beauty through music, and I want them to be nicer to each other because of our music.
And I mean, to be fair to you, Don, like, I completely understand why you want me to give you my reactions to music, because you guys are one of those you're one of those acts who genuinely care about people's experiences with it. And it probably does suck a little bit when people are a little bit more controlled about it. I kind of get what you're saying there. I understand.
No. Come on, it's okay. I'm just joking around. I mean, I really want whatever you think is honest. I want every reaction from anybody about everything to be separate from corporate compulsion. Like, no sense of what you think you should do or say or this and that. Like, because they don't care about you. They don't want anybody to be happy. Do you think they want you to be happy? No. Do they want you to be free? No. But we want you to be free.
I think that goes, not just for you, but for everyone. Yeah, like honest reactions to the music, whatever they might be, I think are super important to us. Like, and sometimes that's hard when you do music and, your people, like, your friends or your family are listening to it. And it's like, of course, they're going to tell you it's good no matter, you don't know, like, maybe it sounds like hot garbage, but your mom's not going to listen to your album and tell you it's bad. So, getting honest reactions from anyone, no matter, whatever they might be.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through the album. So intro, what'd you think? Okay. Good. Bad.
I gave you my reactions to each of these tracks in the review, my man. I'll tell you what, I'm going to listen to each of these tracks on my Spotify right now. This will be promotion for your album. I am going to listen to the first 20 seconds of them to refresh myself, and then we will be good, okay? I'm going to tell you which ones I really like. Okay, let's go, okay?
Tell me what you really think.
How do I make it so that it's... Okay, hang on. I'll put it on the other side, okay? So we've got intro. Here we go. Sounded like it was from some old, like, kind of start of a TV sitcom or something like that. Like, it's like, you guys know the game Animal Crossing on the Nintendo Switch or something like that? It reminds me of, like, when you turn the TV on and it's showing a drama or something like that about to unfold or something like that. I really dig it. It's really cool, just those strings are really authentic, and I wasn't expecting them, mate. But it's kind of an interesting way to start an album. We've got Clown Toads, which was 2 minutes 16. Clown Toads kind of sounds like on a disco kind of dancey kind of drum beat. I do enjoy that. I think it's really good that we're experimenting with that. That's a very interesting kind of tone you have on the vocals there. It sounds kind of spacey, kind of like some sort of the dark wave stuff from like the late 80s, early 90s kind of vibe from that, which was kind of dope. And there was some interesting kind of like bombs kind of happening in the 2/3, right? What was that?
What happening in the what part?
Like at about 1:23, there was some really interesting sort of like pseudo percussive parts where those like dun kind of like
on the ride dun 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 na 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 right
those rides
around
yeah, I think so.
Around one. What part did you say? Around one what?
1:23.
Okay, I'm pulling it up on my computer right now. Let's see here.
Oh no, those are guitars.
Oh yeah, that's the end part of the song. So that's actually that's guitar. So the end there, what you're hearing in that outro, there's the guitar, and it's the same guitar line from the main portion of the song, if you will, and it's just put through some different reverse delays and such. And then the vocals are actually backmasked in that part. So I recorded the vocals, reversed the recording, memorized how it sounded in reverse, sang it in reverse, and then reversed to that. So that's how you get those vocals there at the end.
What I love about that outro is that anybody who hates that outro because it's too long, it kind of implies that they wish the regular song was longer. Like if they're like, oh, this outro is too long. I guess a few people said that they wanted the first half to be longer.
Yeah.
So if you hate one thing, I guess it kind of means, right, that they wanted the other part to be longer.
And then when we do that song live, we it's twice as long. So we do play like the main part of the song twice through.
But Logan, I guess I'm saying, what is your least favorite song? And I really want to know what you don't like about it.
All right.
Because you can't go through every one. I mean,
yeah, because we're running out of time for the interview, unfortunately. Yeah. But if I have a quick listen through them, I know this is real. I usually edit the mms out, so don't worry, that's not going to be featured in the
Do you do that when you listen? That's awesome.
Like, oh hell yeah! I edit all sorts of stuff. I do a lot of cuts.
No, I mean when you listen, do you do that?
No, I don't really do it on my own. I've been doing this long enough that I got a camera. I got a camera face, man. Like,
okay.
But it doesn't mean I don't enjoy it.
You're not giving us the natural artifact then. That's what I'm asking for, man. I'm like, what do you really think? What do you feel? You know, that's what this is about. I mean, we could listen to The Weeknd if we wanted to. It's pretty good. It's pretty catchy. But we're trying to change the world, man.
No, the reason I don't do it when I'm not reviewing it is because when I am just listening to something, I'm actually not a very confident person at all. I'm very shy and introverted. So I try and keep I don't make noises when I'm by myself. But I'm aware that if I was to not make any noises when I was reviewing, and if I didn't do anything, it'd just be...
It's okay, man. I totally get that.
I get what you're saying, though. Yeah.
Are you like an outcast? Did you feel like an outcast growing up?
Yeah, I did.
That's cool, man. That's cool, man. That's like what our music's for, man. I mean, I feel like both of us are outcasts too, like in our own way, you know? And there's so much bullshit in the world. What are we going to just cookie cutter pretend to give the real thing?
And it's funny you said you're very shy and not necessarily that confident. But yet you're doing this where you're, on camera and you're doing these reviews and interviews.
Yes.
And I think I'm the same way. And I think maybe a lot of performers are like that. Like in real life, I'm not super confident. I tend to kind of keep to myself, but put me in a situation like this. So like if I'm on stage performing and I feel completely comfortable doing that, but then like after the show, if people want to talk to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go over here in a corner with my beer because I don't know how to interact with anyone. Yeah.
Same. So like I'm confused, Logan, because you seem very confident, but you're saying that you don't feel as confident. And man, whatever you are, man, is like that's the real deal, dude. Don't let anybody tell you this or that. That's what they want, So what do you really think about this album, man?
I think that you guys have played very well in it. I couldn't hear any sort of instrumental mistakes in the performances. I think that you guys mixed and mastered it pretty well. There were the occasional bits where I was wondering if something was a bit louder than it needed to be, but it's okay because I'm not expecting this to be mixed like a rap single or something like that, where everything's heavily compressed. I think it's important to have dynamic range. I think you guys successfully created a story that was like open enough that people could have their own sort of personal interpretations with it, whilst also being like consciously chronological enough that it makes sense when you give the listener an actual kind of story of it. And it's like, because I instantly kind of understood it when Don, you explained it like the way you did, right? And ultimately, I think that like technically you guys have done a great job with this. It gets to a point where you guys make this music and it's at a high quality and it's like, what do I complain about? What do I complain about that in a way that's valid? You guys asked me what my least favorite track was, and I would have to say logically that would probably be the one I didn't know if I liked.
So that would be Hourglass 1 was the one that you weren't sure if you liked, yeah.
Totally.
I can definitely see that. Like it's a peculiar track in the middle of the album, and I think it's there sort of like almost like just like a breather, like you go through the first half of the album, it's all the songs are very intense in their own way, and then you kind of get to this little pause where you're like in this little transition between
it's kind of
like
500 worms are like flowing through your body, and they're soft and they feel good, but it's uncomfortable because there's all these synths. Seriously, there's like all these weird like rotating like wheels of different synthesizers, and it's like almost like soothing and uncomfortable is my interpretation. I also want to say what you said about Nordic Retreat. I'm not trying to give the impression that I think that's a wrong interpretation, that it's maybe so dark and nihilistic. I'm saying, I guess, like nihilism isn't a bad thing necessarily, even if it's that it's like being purged from your body, right? Like you're feeling this thing of nihilism. It doesn't have to be forever. And so the fact that it's coming up is in and of itself a good thing by some interpretation. You don't have to it doesn't have to be you forever.
No.
So that's, yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. Look, Don, I feel you, man. This has been a lively interview. You guys are very confident chatting to me, and that's great. I enjoy that.
Man, I don't feel confident. I'm gonna go listen to music right now, and I don't feel confident all the time either. No, I'm serious. So I don't think that's the right interpretation, man.
I
think this interview.
I think no, but we really enjoy talking to you, and I know we're we probably come across like a couple of really weird assholes like talking over you and each other and everything, but this is kind of how conversations with us go anyway. So it always feels very authentic talking to you. Like, I know we've never met in real life and you're on the other side of the world, but it just feels like we're all sitting in the same room going off about music, which is great. Logan, are you familiar with the band Hum by any chance?
No, sorry, I'm not.
Okay. They are a good band. So they they were a rock band in the mid 90s. They had one big hit. I don't know if it was a hit outside of the United States. I'm not sure if it's something you'd be familiar with, but they had one big hit called Stars. It was on the radio all the time for a couple of years. So the reason I brought that up, but I guess I don't know how much of your audience would have heard of them, but the front man from that band is producing our third album that comes out. So this will be the first album where we're actually working with somebody outside of the band. So we're actually going to Illinois to record in his studio, and he'll be engineering and producing the album for us, which I guess is exciting if you're familiar with Hum, but I don't know most people aren't necessarily.
Dude, I just think am I able to, are we okay to talk about that in the interview? Because we've always got that. Yeah. Because it's just exciting that you guys have got people wanting to work with you like that. I think that's fantastic.
Well, they don't want to. We had to.
Yeah, it's for me. Like that was.
We did he didn't look us up. We looked him up.
But he did. But yeah, we did look him up. But it was that for me. It was very exciting. Like growing up, like that was one of my favorite bands when I was younger. That really inspired me to start playing. And so to have one of your musical heroes agreeing to do that alone is exciting. That I found this guy and emailed him and was like, hey, here's our music. Would you be interested in working with us on the next album? And he agreed to do it. So that's huge for me. And it is exciting that people want to work with us, whether we're approaching them first or not. They could certainly still have that option of being like, no, you guys, this music sucks. We don't want anything to do with this. Please don't bother us again. And that's not the reaction we're getting. So that's great.
So for you guys now,
he might listen to it a bit.
True.
And he might say,
hope so.
I don't want to work with you. Yeah.
I hope he's chill with it. I hope he's having a really great time with it. I wish you guys the best of luck with the third album, but still, congratulations on Russian Carpet. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that we could discuss the different intricacies of it. I'm glad that we could go over your progress over the last while since our last chat. And before we go, is there anything that you'd like to talk about with the people watching this review? Interview. It's an interview. I have a bad habit of saying, see you in the next review whenever I finish an interview. Because apparently I just haven't learned how to do these outros properly yet.
Well, to be fair, the words are almost the same. So yeah, easy. I probably switch them all the time too. So the last thing I'll say is if I don't know how many people listening or watching this are familiar with Hum, but if you're familiar with Hum, who's a big band, or not big, but they had a couple hits in the 90s. We're actually going to be working with some of the members of that band on our next album. They're going to be helping us with the recording and engineering process. So hopefully we'll see that coming out probably next year. So yeah, just keep, if you aren't already, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, so you can keep up on when we have new releases coming out, and when hopefully we have shows in the near future, and we hope to see people there.
And go listen to the new Radiohead song. It's called If You Say the Word, right?
It is actually really good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, because didn't Radiohead have a massive like break between like 2007 and then some of their more recent material? Like what? Why did they have a big break?
Well, they've had a lot of really long pauses between albums. It feels like it's been like, I want to say the last album came out in 2016. So 6 years ago was the last one. And then, there was like these big gaps between them. I guess, I can only speculate, but I suppose when you've reached that sort of level of success, and, you have almost everyone in the band working on solo material, it's easier to take those long breaks. I mean, I guess we'll have to see what happens with us as we move along and create more music. Right now, so far, it's really been a pause. We finished an album and we already have a bunch of ideas for the next release. And maybe someday we'll get to a point where we, need to step back for a couple of years and work on something different, or just take a break from music. But we haven't hit that point yet.
This song, though, is actually from 2001 or 2000. It's like an unreleased track from Kid A or something like that. So it's really cool to hear, because it's like their old vibe, and it's really good.
Yeah, and that's just something we've talked about too for us, is that, we have a lot of unreleased, half-finished songs or things that from the last couple of albums sitting there in a little demo folder that I have, and maybe someday down the road we'll work on those or just release them as they are. But I think I think I said earlier, it's a cool thing about making albums is you usually end up with a lot more material than actually gets released. So you always have stuff sort of on the back burner, like maybe we want to come back to this other song someday, or release these as some sort of extended version of an album down the road. Yeah.
Hey, Logan, do you like Bob Marley? Because I feel like you would. He's good.
It's fantastic music. I love the vibe of it. It's so chill and peaceful a lot of the time, despite the subject matter.
Mm.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
What subject matter? Don't worry. Be happy. No, I know.
Wasn't there some other stuff that I remember listening to a song.
Right?
I think, some of it for sure. Reggae in general, I think some of the subject matter, like, some of it is in the "Don't worry, be happy" vein, but some of it can be pretty heavy
darker
stuff.
Yeah.
But it's brought across, like the music itself sounds lighthearted, which makes it a lot easier to listen to and to digest some of those topics.
Well, like what topics? If it is so dark.
I don't know, man. Go listen to some reggae. I feel like they sing about like war and coming from.
But overcoming war is a good thing, right? It's about overcoming war and using love to defeat.
But war is also one of the worst things, about being human and about our species, I guess.
Absolutely. But I think personally what I've heard is that the ethos is about the power of love and truth to overcome those things. And it's not a bad thing to, have some darkness.
No.
Surface.
So like, to clarify, when I say there's like some sort of content matter that you might want to sort of feature on a kid's show at like just straight after school or something like that, I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
Just that it's one of the beautiful things about certain genres of music is that it can sound really upbeat and happy and positive, and then if you think about the lyrics, it's like, oh.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. Absolutely. And you can have the same in reverse. You can have very lighthearted lyrics set to more, somber music or whatever. So it's a beautiful thing.
Love you guys.
However, you guys are amazing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time and the banters and the chats. And I will catch you guys in the next review or interview or whatever happens next. But best of luck with the third album, with the people in Hum. Yeah, Hum?
Yes, sir.
And best of luck. Congratulations on Russian Carpet. I'll catch you guys later. Thank you, Logan. Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
That was my interview. The SB interviews with Nightbird Casino, James and Don. It was a hell of a ride, man. Like, that was a very, very active interview. But I dig it, I dig it. It's fine. I think it's good to chat. I think it's good to have the banter. I think it's good to have honest, open discussions about it. And I think it's important for myself personally to be challenged by the people that I'm talking to, because this is the reality of the situation. I've done lots of reviews, not as many interviews. And it's inevitable that at some stage I will have people that I do interviews with, and they will ask some really tough questions back to me. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it today, and hopefully you did too. James and Don are fantastic blokes. Please do go check out Nightbird Casino via the social media links that I'm putting right here if you enjoyed this. And stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. Catch you in the next interview. Spider hands out.